Hello and welcome to Smaulgld, People's Bank of China's Gold Reserve Update for the month of July 2017. Well, the People's Bank of China's gold buying program remained on hold in July. They added no gold to their reserves in July, although they are increasing their overall foreign reserves, including their U.S. treasuries. Total reported People Bank of China's gold reserves stand at 1,842 tons, the same as October 2016. People's Bank of China's foreign reserves, however, grew for the sixth month in a row, up another 24 billion to 3.081 trillion. So they had fallen below 3 trillion, I think early in January or maybe December of last year, and now they are solidly above 3 trillion. Gold demand, however, in China remains strong. The People's Bank of China's gold reserves are not a good proxy for gold demand in China. As we'll see, we have some charts showing retail demand, Shanghai Gold Exchange withdrawals, and also mining is still very strong, as are imports of gold into China through Hong Kong. However, People's Bank of China's gold reserves remain steady since 2016. And here is the chart that shows that flatlining of the People's Bank of China's gold reserves since October. They first announced their gold reserves in, I think it was July. Yeah, it was July of 2015 for the first time since 2009. And they showed an increase from 1,054 tons of gold up to 1,658 tons. Now, at that time, there was a lot of speculation that China was going to shock the world and announce they had 10,000 tons of gold on their balance sheet, and many gold observers expected something far more than the healthy 604 tons that were announced, that were added between 2009 and 2015. And people were saying they were lying, they were playing 4D chess, they were keeping their cards close to their head. There was a bunch of, there still is, people trying to figure out where all this gold is and how the People's Bank of China tries to hide their gold. Indeed, I saw an article, and it was in a Chinese state newspaper, trying to claim that there were 4,000 tons of gold at the People's Bank of China. Now, at that time, we published a case of China's missing gold, and in that article we noted that China's gold wasn't probably missing at all. It just is not listed on the People's Bank of China's balance sheet. I'm not sure why this has become almost an obsession in the gold community about where the People's Bank of China gold might be, or why they might wish to hide it. It seems fairly obvious. I could be wrong, but to me, the gold is elsewhere in China in sovereign wealth funds, as we noted in that article, the case of China's missing gold, at other Chinese state-owned banks, some of which are owned directly by the People's Bank of China, and with wealthy individuals and citizens. Now, later that year, in 2015, in October, we reported China's president confirms practice of moving official reserve assets to other entities in China. Well, gold is an official reserve asset, and in that, he mentioned some assets in foreign exchanges were transferred from the central bank, which is the People's Bank of China, to domestic banks, enterprises, and individuals, just as we had suspected a couple of months earlier. Clearly, there is more gold in China than is reported on the People's Bank of China's balance sheet. It doesn't take a Sherlock Holmes to make that determination. According to the United States Geological Survey, China is the world's leading gold mining country. It's produced over 5,200 tons of gold over the last 10 years or so. The Shanghai Gold Exchange has withdrawals of over 14,000 tons, and gold imported under official numbers into China just from Hong Kong since 2001 is over 5,300 tons. So you add those numbers up, you don't even have to include the Shanghai Gold Exchange, because that's a hard number to figure out where that gold comes from, but it's clearly in China to be traded like that. But just take your your mined gold and the imported gold into Hong Kong, and you're well over 10,000 tons. And then you look at the People's Bank of China's balance sheet and you say they only have 1,850 tons. Aha, they're lying. No. Look at India. It's the same thing. Indian households are estimated to hold 18,000 to 22,000 tons of gold. We know the temples probably hold 3 or 4,000 tons of gold. And then the Royal Bank of India lists 557 tons of gold on its balance sheet. Simply, the gold on the balance sheet of the People's Bank of China and the Royal Bank of India is not China's gold or India's gold. It's just the gold held by those respective central banks. So we're going to see some charts. We can see what the imports are into Hong Kong through into China through Hong Kong, the mining chart, the production there, the Shanghai Gold Exchange. We'll look at some retail demand numbers in China. It clearly shows plenty of gold in China. All right, let's go back to the Chinese foreign reserve. So you can see they were under 3 trillion for the first time. It was in January, and they've since backed up over that in February, and there's been a pretty 4 billion, 20 billion, 24 billion, 3 billion, 24 billion. So you can see they've added about 75 billion or 80 billion dollars worth of reserves since January. And part of that includes adding US Treasuries. And we can see here U.S. Treasury security holdings have increased since November, and they're back up to 1.1 trillion. They're still behind Japan. Japan has slightly more U.S. Treasuries as of May. We'll get the June numbers on, I think, August 15th, 16th, and we'll report those. Maybe China will have passed Japan at that point. And there was an article here, China ready to buy more treasuries as yuan stabilizes. Now, Russia also surprisingly is adding treasuries. Discussed this in other videos, but you can see now they're up to their most treasuries since September, November 2014. Let's take a look at those Chinese gold imports through Hong Kong. There you go, 5,300 tons imported since then, and the bulk of it really has been since 2011. This year through June, almost 400 tons. They'll probably do about 800 tons this year. So clearly lots of gold heading into China, staying in China too. Those are net imports. Here's your gold mining production. 450 tons of gold every year for the past 3 years. That doesn't leave the country, but also doesn't end up on the People's Bank of China's balance sheet. 5,200 tons of gold produced since 2000 in China. Shanghai Gold Exchange, 14,500 tons. Look at all this gold coming into in and out of the Shanghai Gold Exchange. Now there's probably some double counting in here, but again, it just shows as a robust trade at the Shanghai Gold Exchange. Retail demand. This was in Bloomberg, reported in a number of outlets. Gold bars sold in the first half of 2017 in China, 158 metric tons. That's 4 million ounces, almost 5 million ounces. Jewelry is an even bigger draw in China than the investment in gold bars, 330 tons or 10.6 million ounces. And total gold demand, when there's other industrial demand and this is the two largest bars in jewelry, 545 tons at 17.5 million ounces. If they stay on that pace, just on the retail demand, they are going to have demand almost 1,100 tons in 1 year. Well, the People's Bank of China only has 1,800 tons. So you can see, even at the retail level, massive amounts of gold demand. But again, what's in China, what the people have, isn't on the balance sheet of the People's Bank of China. And then here you see, there's your 1,842 tons where China is, People's Bank of China, and they're not adding to their reserves. They're slowly building back the $1 trillion of reserves they burned off over the last couple of years. And it seems that they're not focused on adding gold. That doesn't mean there's not gold in China. It doesn't mean gold demand is down. It just means that is how the People's Bank of China has determined to operate its central bank. So if you're interested in purchasing gold for yourself or silver, you can do so through the Smaulgld site at BGSC, Golden Eagle Coins, SD Bullion, Mighty Metals Exchange. It's not investment advice, but if you are interested in buying and you've made the financial decision to do so, Please consider shopping at those links. You pay no more, no less than if you visited the sites directly, and Smaulgld gets a small commission if you do indeed buy. Also, if you're interested in donating, I'm sure that's the top of your list, to Smaulgld, you can do so via PayPal, via Litecoin, Bitcoin, at the links below. And also, if you're interested in purchasing cryptocurrencies and you like to do so through perhaps Coinbase, you can sign up through the link below. And if you buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, they will credit your account with an additional $10 worth of free Bitcoin, and they'll do the same for Smaulgld. So if you're interested in doing that, you can check out the link below and also on the Smaulgld page. Also, if you want to become a patron of Smaulgld, I think we have 9 so far. You can do so by agreeing to donate a small amount or a large amount each month, and then you'll become number 10 of the Smaulgld patrons. Also, if you want to buy a ledger, this will be, I promise, this is it. If you want to buy a ledger to protect your Bitcoin or your Litecoin, your Dash, or other cryptocurrencies, this is a hardware wallet. It costs about €59. If you buy one through the site, Smaulgld gets a small commission, but more importantly is you can then use that wallet. You keep your private keys, and you can take your coins off of the exchange and make sure that you don't have any issues with hacking at the exchanges, or perhaps governmental action closes them temporarily, permanently. Who knows? You're usually better off, from what I understand, holding your private keys so that you can control your own Bitcoin. Thank you very much for listening, and cryptocurrencies.